Donald Love's entry to what he became was all in real estate, nothing more, nothing less. Going all the way back to 1986, he was mentored by considerably the most successful guy in real estate at this time, Avery Carrington. First time the two were seen together, they were having a conversation with retired football star B.J. Smith regarding real estate, trying to get him on board. But Donald being around Avery early on, he of course took notes, along with being able to be in these type of settings as well, to make connections.
And over there, we have the Vice City Mamba's star titan, BJ. Always the charmer.
I blocked down on him, and then I put him in a wheelchair.
That is good. Well, now I'm looking at some prime...
And that
By the time Tommy met Avery, we see the lengths he went to be able to buy and acquire property. Something, again, Donald was around to learn his tactics from. Things like taking people out and everything in between, Avery showed the loophole into getting land. He would go out of town, but the next time he's seen, he's with no other than Donald. But with this encounter, showed what Donald had to deal with being around Avery.
Tommy, this is Donald Love. Donald, this here is Tommy Vercetti, the latest gunslinger to come to these parts. Now, Donald, you just shut up and listen, and you might learn something.
Avery saying this, of course, showed Donald's innocence at this point, along with him not seeing the bigger picture with his tactics. But Avery being good with advice, he takes beratement in this conversation from this point forward, knowing the value of being around him.
Now, nothing brings down real estate prices quicker than a good old-fashioned gang war. Except maybe a disaster like a biblical plague or something, but that may be going too far in this case. You getting this down, you four-eyed prick? Now, recently a Haitian gang lord died. Apparently the Cubans did it. Nobody's certain, but let's make them certain. You disguise yourself as a Cuban hombre and head on down and crash that funeral. Mix it up, and then hightail it. You getting this down, Donald?
Tommy, as we know down the line, was given property advice by Avery as well. And as we saw, his words made his operation grow.
What you need is a legitimate front, Tommy. Real estate. It's never done me no harm.
So Donald being mentored, of course the same was for him as well. Just with being talked down on in the process. But this beratement was something that stick with him while still being successful, something we'll see. It got to a point he started to do his own thing by the time a whole decade came around, not even having his full attention on real estate, already having it. Instead, with his wealth and status, he wanted to get into politics, something that of course wasn't taught to him. But with him wanting this, he became desperate, leading him to be used in the process. At this point of his life, he decided to reside to Liberty City, having Salvatore as one of his connections, leading him to call in a favor, having Tony help him become mayor. Salvatore would give Tony the rundown, as we know, saying something telling regarding Donald.
Yep, it's Sal. Listen, the Forellis had Mayor Hole in their pocket, but we're gonna take control of City Hall. I know a big-shot businessman who'd do anything to get into office. He's a complete asshole, so he's qualified for the position. I told him you'd make sure he wins the election. For us.
Having a reputation for being a businessman at the end of the day was why people wanted to associate themselves with him. And with Salvatore referring to him as a big shot was the same thing. But once he's introduced, we see what he used his power for, which is to say the least the motive of his past, something we'll see.
2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 5, 3. Antonio, how wonderful to see you!
What's going on?
We're having a party, dear boy, a party. Yes, a morgue party. The first of the season.
Whoa, what the fuck you talking about? A morgue party?
Him being so rich, one of his kicks was literally eating people, as many know. But the fact this party he's getting ready for was just him and the people he's eating shows how he's just a loner. And the fact he didn't feel the need to hide this shows how he thinks this is normal. He even talked about the person he was about to eat if he was still alive, not wanting to keep the body waiting, again to fill a void.
We're gonna have quite a night tonight. But first, we need to go and pick up the guests. Come, before our guests get bored to death. No pun intended. 'Cause they're dead, you know. Our guest of honor is taking a little trip to the pathology labs. Let's not keep him waiting.
This aside for now, you want to be a mayor and being desperate for it, like Salvatore warned Tony about earlier, also starts to show. All he wanted from this was validation from others of his own power. He even went to say how he has a bandwagon, showing how he was just trying to capitalize on that. Something telling for down the line.
DL?
Tony,
How's the campaign?
it's down to the wire and every last vote's gonna count. O'Donovan's campaigners are working those marginal seats hard. Well, we've got our own bandwagon, so get out there and spread the word.
Even what Tony says on his behalf to get votes showed he just wanted what he does to be normalized and respected for his sake.
Love won't tax the wealthy. Vote love for pathology classes in schools. Donald Love believes in morgue access for all. Donald Love is a war hero. A vote for love is a vote for happiness. Donald Love, tough on vegetarians.
And the fact the race was neck and neck between the two showed people actually was in support of Donald. With that step out of the way, he continued to help his loneliness, confirming his mindset in the process.
Antonio, que pasa, amigo?
You do know I'm Italian, don't you, Don? Not, Spanish?
Of course. How silly of me. I just love all the Romance languages.
Donald having a liking for Romance languages, particularly Spanish, is something to keep in mind down the line. But for now, this shows him learning to have a way with words. But again, here he's trying to help his loneliness, to when of course he says something again, telling.
My God, this is good. It tastes just like chicken, but somehow more, sentient. You want some?
I already ate, thanks.
And him saying how human flesh to him is sentient, again confirms him being a lonely soul, being that he can again feel again when he eats people. He even went to say the disconnect between him and other people, showing how he doesn't have anyone to relate to his fetish, forcing him to be by himself, getting his kicks.
Too bad. It's fantastic. I have some more delicacies about to be served. The liberals would have a field day, of course, but how little they know of life's real pleasures. Sophistication and democracy have always been such uneasy bedfellows.
Tony would then try to put his head back in the game in order to win against O'Donovan, getting his task, while Donald giving him the rundown, even calling people helping O'Donovan and the people in general deluded, showing Donald to be too far gone at this point, just with money.
Listen, Don, we need to win this election, okay? We need to make sure that there's no skeletons in the closet, if, you know what I mean?
Right.
What I mean is, how do we take care of this O'Donovan guy who is covering for, standing in for the Forellis?
The guy has a lot of people canvassing for him. All kinds of deluded people, if you know what I mean. I think we need to have their faith in democracy shaken, if you understand me.
What you mean is that I gotta go beat the crap out of them.
Oh, your passion, Antonio, it's magnificent. It's so, Wagnerian, you know? Arrivederci, amigo. Humphreys, bring out the offal.
But even with that, learning from Avery, he still used crippling tactics to get his power, going to have Tony destroy voting machines in his favor.
Antonio, good to see you. Now, I'm no Democrat, but even I draw the line at vote rigging. Did you know the Forellis own a silent share of a company making the new voting machines?
That's bad, right?
Well, we certainly can't trust them.
Donald saying the machines couldn't be trusted was him holding back, but wanting to win by any means necessary, he throws the good guy act out the window to get this done.
No, it's best if they all have a major malfunction, if you catch my drift.
After this, Donald sets up an appearance for media to continue to push being mayor. But with this, showed how he didn't even like what he was doing, along with realizing what he's done recently against the Forellis, O'Donovan's muscle.
How I hate publicity, but it's all part of the game, right?
Right, so.
The Forellis are gonna try and take me out, aren't they?
Don't worry, I'm gonna be riding shotgun.
Oh well, here goes everything.
Let's see what you got, tough guy.
Oh, shit, this is ridiculous!
Don't panic, I'll deal with these assholes.
There's a rifle in the trunk.
Lock the doors, this won't take long.
This attack caused Donald to miss his convincing with the media. His goal was to look the opposite of what he really was, something he called out when he arrived back to his building, making him more eager to win, although again, he hated publicity.
I can't fight an election as a virtual recluse. We'll have to think about using different tactics.
Earlier, the votes were neck and neck, making it easy for Donald to cover up what he once hidden. But once things started to not look good, led into a new tactic for him.
Bad news, Tony.
What?
The exit polls are neck and neck. Time for plan B. We steal some of the uncounted votes and we replace them with some of our own.
What was that you said about vote rigging?
Oh, shut up.
Donald playing dirty in this whole thing, O'Donovan does the same, ready to leak to the media about him being connected with the Leones. Donald, of course, panicked, seeing his image on the line.
Tony, it's Donald. I have a rather pressing matter that requires your
particular skills. Please call me at my office as soon as you can. Tony, you've got to help me. O'Donovan's got evidence linking me to Salvatore. We're sunk.
Calm down. Evidence goes missing every day. Not to mention judges, witnesses, jurors.
I hoped you'd see it that way. One of my men has been following the guy with the evidence. He'll meet you under the overpass in Newport.
Tony, the evidence is in that van up ahead. You have to fight your way in, get the van back to DL. Good luck.
But even with getting rid of the evidence, the same deluded people went against them, making the evidence not even matter. After making up their minds seeing them be around Tony, the only thing Donald could do was blame Tony, leading him to reveal why this was a big deal for him.
Take care of that mess for you. Everything should be cool now.
Really?
You got no more links to organized crime. You're whiter than white. You could be the Pope.
The Pope. Watch this.
Although no links can be proved between Donald Love and Liberty City's organized crime, it seems his friendship with mobsters, including Tony Cipriani, have counted heavily against him in voters' eyes. The past few hours have seen his popularity plummet. He is deemed, it seems, unfit for office.
Unfit? Because of you. Yeah, and it's all your fault.
My fault?
Oh, yeah.
My fault.
I can't believe the sacrifices I've made for this town.
The sacrifices he felt he made wasn't sacrifices to help the city, but he's referring to the resources he used for power, just not to be elected. He even shows being unaware of his moves after he spoke on his weakness.
And do you know what my weakness has been the entire time? Humility.
Feeling like his weakness was humility, even at this point, again goes to show him not realizing who he became. He was more of that than starting around Avery, even having his notepad out that one time. But once he got wealthy, it became the total opposite, being more of a humble bragger.
And now I'm ruined, bankrupt, $20 million in the hole. Gone. Bankrupt. Done. Arrivederci!
Bankrupt!
Media, along with his own ways, led him to hit rock bottom, causing him to lose his mind, even leaving that part of town, checking into a room where he can wallop. Still being desperate, he had no other choice to call Tony to get him back on his feet.
Yeah.
Tony, it's Donald. No, wait, don't hang up. I've got a very exciting proposition for you. Please come by my current, residence, and I'll fill you in. Tony, please, Tony, have a heart. I'm calling in from my last... I know what you're thinking, Tony. How the mighty have fallen. But this is just a temporary blip, my man.
Okay.
The fact he looked at this situation as just temporary shows why he's about to say what he says to Tony, trying to, of course, make himself feel better.
Oh, don't be all touchy. I know I said some nasty things about this being your fault and all, but hubris is a nasty, nasty bedfellow. Almost as nasty as termites. And trust me, I've tried both recently.
Calling Tony hubris was basically telling him to let his pride go to help him. But with not being mayor, Tony or Salvatore didn't need him, of course, making Tony not want to deal with him.
Wait. You and me are on our way back.
I never went away.
We're in this together, amigo.
No, we're not.
Please.
Please? Please? Forget about it, buddy. It's all your fault? Pathetic.
10%.
10% of what? This? Oh, you're too kind.
Not of this. Of something really big. Come. I'll tell you about it on the drive. I hope you have your car. Mine's in the, shop.
Donald had planned to get him back where he wanted to be, consisted of him getting back into real estate. But with no money and desperation, the same guy who taught him what he knew became the sacrifice he made for Liberty City to get himself up, the same thing he spoke on earlier.
We don't have a minute to lose. Oh, yes. This is one of my better plans for sure. I never knew I had it in me. Even Avery would be proud. Tony, my ex-mentor, Avery Carrington, is flying into town today.
Cheevin was the reason why Avery and Donald became distant. It wasn't until he was down, something he's about to say, that he even thought about him, being hypocritical in the process, speaking on Avery.
It's come to my attention that he's working for the Panlantic Corporation. They'll do anything to get prime real estate. We have to get hold of his plans to acquire land.
Even with the Colombian cartel protecting him, Donald still was adamant in making this happen. So when he shows his excitement once he was able to get Avery's plans.
Come on, Tony, get after him. Oh, capital Tony! Air! Quite literally.
This is gonna make me a fortune.
He was happy here, but him not knowing who he really was, even with his reputation being smeared for being around Tony, the same result would happen, causing him to panic.
Tony, at last! A reporter witnessed us killing Avery. He has photos. Oh, God, I'm finished.
Calm down, will you? Where is this reporter?
Oh, Tony, you're wonderful. Apparently he's working on an undercover job at the church on Staunton Island. Get the photos and bury him!
But Tony, of course, helping for 10%. This reporter is killed. With him and Avery going, knowing what the payout would be with this, he decides to throw a party. But finally it's revealed why he even eats people in the first place.
I'm back! Back from the dead, Tony, risen in you like a phoenix from the ashes. Like Lazarus. Yes, Lazarus love. I'm gonna be rich again. Panlantic are gonna pay me a fortune to see the deal through. We did it, Tony.
Whatever.
It's time for a little soiree with a very exclusive guest list. Come on.
Getting Avery's body, he's aware of what he did for him in a positive way. But doing what he had to do, he wants to fully consume him so he can forever be with him eternally. Again, helping him in the past, and now at this point.
Tony, I've been dying for this party. Just like my guest. Oh, Avery, how you've aged since we've last met. You used to feed me such pearls of wisdom. And soon I shall dine again. Oh, God, he's wearing a wig!
And as far as wanting to eat the reporter, him being skilled in what he did in media, along with carrying a grudge for his downfall with people like him, this was something he wanted to also keep with him.
Ah, Ned Burner, ace reporter. Ah, Ned, I'm going to give you the exclusive rights to cover my wonderful party. I wouldn't invite just anyone to my little bash, you know. Invitations are to die for.
With these sources, gave him the courage to continue to do the deal with the Panlantic company. He calls Tony to when we start to hear him actually take precaution to make this happen.
Tony, Donald here. If the Panlantic deal is to come to fruition, we're going to need to, how can I put this delicately? Clear a small section of land in Fort Stark.
Yeah, when you say we, you mean me, right?
No, Tony, you see right through me. Go and see 8-Ball. I'm sure he can provide us with the necessary hardware.
Donald sent me to pick up some, hardware.
Alright, I got what you boys need, but it's gonna cost. Don said you'd pay me up front and he'd reimburse you later.
Yeah, I bet he did. Now where's the hardware?
Shit, son. Hardware like this takes time to put together. I'll be in touch. Look, man, this truck is loaded. Know what I'm saying? Drive cool.
And once everything was ready, Donald was seen to already know the outcome, during him calling though. Back at his house, something telling was shown.
Yeah. It's all good. Sure, I'll put him on.
Tony, we're one little job away from being fabulously rich.
We've scoured plans of Fort Staunton. Its weakest points are along the old subway that runs underneath the area.
Great, Don. All I gotta do is dodge 100 wacko Italians.
Just head along the Porter Tunnel and you'll find your way in just fine.
As we see, a media piece is on the table, showing him having plans of getting into that himself after being affected by it in the first place. Everything up until this point, Donald was just trying to get power, from eating people to killing his mentor. But again, knowing the outcome of this, in a way, all that helped him get ahead after being desperate.
But when I lose my temper...
disaster has begun to form.
All that was left was to keep himself alive. The Colombian cartel finds him after messing up their plan. He will be seen meditating, still trying to cover up his mind state before getting help.
No, that's no good. Damn it! It's just so... Oh, shit, if I just had something cold to cuddle up to, it'd be so easy.
What's going on, D?
Antonio! Oh, I'm just seeking spiritual enlightenment, if you must ask, but not today. Maybe tomorrow.
Your message seemed kind of anxious.
Anxious? I'm meditating. Anxious. Moi. I'm at one with the universe. That's just impossible. Oh, shit, that's right. There is a load of Colombians coming up here to potentially kill me if I don't keep my mouth shut and pay them all off.
Oh, I guess that would explain all the Colombians hovering around outside.
Oh, shit. Please, Antonio, you have to get me out of here. I don't want to... Please, I don't want to die. I don't.
So much for being at one with the universe, huh?
Things getting hot. He decided to leave LC, getting what he wanted, even having company, so he won't be alone.
D, come on, let's go.
Oh, my garden! Look what you've done to my beautiful garden!
D, we could do some landscaping or escaping. It's up to you.
Get me to the airport. We've made it. Take me to Avery's jet. He and Ned are still on board, so I won't be traveling alone. I do so hate goodbyes, my friend. Let's just say adieu.
D, it's been an education.
98, this was Donald's last time seen. He got away with a lot. He did, being desperate and trying to keep power. Something else to add, he never even gave Tony 10% of getting him back rich, along with cutting his ties with the Leones, being that their presence almost caused his fall. Plans also for the future also was revealed after media personality Laszlo revealed they had talks about moving up into this lane, giving him another thing on his belt to gain.
Well, looks like that's all we have time for, which is a damn shame. French chefs and self-righteous rednecks don't deliver the kind of radio I can deliver. But, me and my buddy Donald have got some big plans for this station. C-Box 24/7. We'll see you next time.
And by 2000, Love Media was already founded. The only reason he made a media company was to create his own narrative regarding himself, not trying to please anymore, and continued to be reported on negatively, and it worked. It's more out there during LCS, but he learned how to fully cover his ways up by the time 2001 came around. We see the lies he spoke, along with him still humble bragging, during him doing the commercial.
It's time for a public service announcement from Donald Love.
Hello, I'm Donald Love. Under my guidance, Love Media has emerged as the fastest growing US-run media conglomerate of the past 5 years. With newspapers, television, and radio stations across the US and the free world, alongside a wide array of industrial and technology interests, we at Love Media ensure you get the truth behind the story every time. From films to dog food, from radio to pop music, you can be sure of independent, quality-led broadcasting every time you tune in. That's why we're the fastest growing cable supplier and health insurance provider in the Northeast, and why our new satellite in China is something all Americans can be proud of. Here at Love Media, we are proud of what we have done to help America and to help hard-working Americans relax. For investment opportunities or information about our new interactive television service, please go to www.lovemedia.tv.
If you let him tell it, just like back then, he was for the people, doing people a service. But it's really him just wanting people to eat from his palms, making sure everywhere you look, you see his name.
Well, the red light on the wall is flashing, which means that the owner of the station has an important announcement to make. Let's go live to his office.
Hello, my name is Donald Love. You're listening to a Love Media station. Enjoy.
Wow, man, that was deep.
This time around, the Colombians and the law was his only real problems. The Colombians tried to extort him early on, kidnapping someone close to him, someone who helped him not be lonely, along with being a figure for him, like Avery. And as far as the law, him getting things too hot within 3 years, his encounters would be the result of these two things. At this point, Clyde having a dirty cop as a contact was the only way he would even be around. Just like how he was desperate wanting to be mayor, this time around he was desperate not to see prison. But this cop is going to give Clyde a rundown about him. Not saying too much, but what he says still of course was telling.
I know a real important man in town, a soft touch with, shall we say, exotic tastes and the money to indulge them.
Donald being called a soft touch showed much didn't really change at all, along with having money to do anything. But with his money and being desperate to not get caught up, that's why he's even calling in favors, continuing to be used.
He's involved in a legal matter, and the prosecution has some rather embarrassing photos of him at a morgue party or something. The evidence is being driven across town. You are going to have to ram that car and collect each little bit of evidence as it falls out. When you've got it all, leave it in the car and torch it.
With this evidence gone, though, when him and Clyde met, it made it easy for him to deny anything. He's again seen to be a different guy, but that's not the case. He just learned to hide it, something he shows.
First of all, let me thank you for dealing with that personal matter. People will read something into anything these days.
Him knowing that shows us more why he got into media. And notice how he denied the cannibal accusations in the first place. He then revealed something in the problem he had before, which was being lonely after the guy from earlier got kidnapped. He needed that guy around to not be by himself, again desperate to make this happen, even referring to him as a valued resource.
Experience has taught me that a man like you can be very loyal for the right price, but groups of men get greedy. A valued resource, an old Oriental gentleman I know, has been kept hostage by some South Americans in Espatria. They're trying to extort additional funds from me, but I don't believe in renegotiation. A deal is a deal, so they'll not see a penny from me.
And him saying this shows the Colombians caught up with him after stealing the plans he took from Avery, cutting Tony and Salvatore off. This was something that came to bite him. Again, this time around, he hit it well.
Go and rescue my friend. Do whatever it takes.
Getting him back, his plan to throw the Colombians off was still in effect. Clyde coming around, as many know, something telling was shown.
Donald, you just shut up and listen, and you might learn something.
Nothing drives down real estate prices like a good old-fashioned gang war, apart from an outbreak of plague. But that might be going too far in this case.
You getting this down, you four-eyed prick?
Him repeating this quote had nothing to do with what he's about to have Clyde do. The only reason he repeats this speech was the fact Avery became a part of him after eating him. He was trying to get back at the Colombians. This was just to throw off to Clyde. Instead of just doing exactly what Avery did, what he really wants then was told.
I've noticed the Yakuza and the Colombians are far from friends. Let's capitalize on this business opportunity. I want you to kill the Yakuza Wakagashira, Kenji Kassen. Kenji is attending a meeting at the top of the multi-story car park in Newport. Get a cartel gang car and eliminate him. The Yakuza must blame the cartel for this declaration of war.
Trying to have him start a war was him trying to kill two birds in one stone. But like I said earlier, we start to see his problem on the law side. The next time we see him, he's also with the old guy doing Tai Chi. Definitely plotting on him.
In these days of moral hypocrisy, certain valuable commodities can be hard to import. On its approach to the airport tonight, a light aircraft will pass over the bay. It will drop several packages into the water. Make sure you pick them up before anyone else does.
Having Clyde do this, in my opinion, was the fact just to see how far he would go, especially with the little detail about what he's doing. Him making things a mystery to people, though, at this point, is what made him be steps ahead. Although we know, even what he wanted ended up being on the site he took from the Colombians.
Thank you for retrieving those packages, but they were only a decoy. Sorry about that, but that's sometimes the way in business. My real objective was hidden on the plane all along. Unfortunately, the port authorities seized the plane and were stripping it down until I intervened at great personal expense. Cross the bridge to Shoreside Vale and go to Francis International Airport. I've paid off the officials. My property will be waiting for you at the customs hangar in the aircraft fuselage.
Hey, let's get this out of here. God knows what it is, but he seems to want it badly enough, so it must be worth something. Hold on.
At this point, he opens up to Clyde.
You are proving to be a safe investment. A rare thing in these days of falsehood.
But that's how he's trying to make it look like. What he wants was told, even being obvious on what he wants.
My Oriental friend will need an escort while he takes my latest acquisition to be authenticated.
He's referring to another person to eat. He refers to it as his latest acquisition, showing the gain he feels that had all along. Now think about it. Who was the last person he had killed? Kenji.
I want you to follow him and make sure both he and my package get to Pike Creek unharmed.
After the body leaving the morgue, what he calls it being authenticated, something the Oriental gentleman was involved in, just like last time, he's planning to leave, now consuming Kenji for power. The Oriental guy being around showed the new things he was trying to learn within that culture, which was also why he even knew the Yakuza and the Colombians were enemies. Keep in mind, all the people he ate made him whole. Also keep in mind what he did, which was actually leave, having what he needed. From Avery alive, then branching up until leaving LC the first time. Making sure he's able to consume Kenji while covering his loose ends, his plan to leave showed.
A lesson in business, my friend. If you have a unique commodity, the world and his wife will try to wrestle it from your grasp, even if they have little understanding as to its true value.
Him saying this is why he's about to disappear. He then brings up the heat around what him and the Oriental gentleman had. He's helping him escape, of course leading him to do the same thing, just not letting Clyde know or anyone know.
SWAT teams have cordoned off the area around my associate and the package. Get over there, pick up the van, and act as a decoy. Keep them busy and he should make good his escape.
Clyde helped Donald escape just like Tony did, and not even realizing it, making it seem his disappearance was a mystery. But with how Donald Love came up, by the time he got rich, he had to learn things Avery couldn't teach him, especially with wanting power. Trying to get it, he was recluse, not even enjoying what he set out for, hating it. He ultimately caused his disappearance, but his hate from how he was treated by media and people in general was the reason for his rise to power.